I was casting my mind back to his last dalliance with North Korea when he was last president, and it was Little Rocket Man, and then Little Rocket Man sort of went into favour and he went to meet him, didn't he? Anyway, obviously he's back in vogue, Little Rocket Man. Look, we can laugh, but it is really bad. The President of the United States, the most important ally to South Korea, basically North Korea had been looking at whether or not, when really, they're going to try and invade South Korea. We all are expecting this in the coming years. And when Donald Trump praises Kim Jong-un, sorry,
right.
old one, Kim Jong-un, as a nice guy, good guy, somebody you could do business with, then it weakens the alliance and it emboldens North Korea.
Now, US President Trump has once again praised the leader of North Korea, reigniting one of the most contentious diplomatic issues of his first term. Here he is speaking earlier.
He has 57 very powerful nuclear weapons. Should have never allowed it to happen. They should have never allowed it. If I were president, I wouldn't have allowed it. But he's got them. I get along with him very well. I can't let Iran have a nuclear weapon. And I know Kim Jong-un very well, and he's going to be fine. As long as we have a smart president, he's going to be fine. If we have a dumb president, then he's probably not going to be so fine.
Are you expecting to meet with him later this year?
Yeah, I will be.
So he says he's going to meet with him, Mikey. As long as we've got a smart president, he'll be fine.
During that same event, Donald Trump said the sentence, "I'm really good at flagpoles."
Brilliant.
I don't think he does either. This is something that Donald Trump keeps returning to, which is his, on again, off again relationship with the Rocket Man, Kim. And this has all come to a head, as I understand it, because Donald Trump had a phone call with South Korea. Just at the time when he was starting to drop bombs on Iran, and said, "Hey, we don't need your help, but if you were to, want to help, then feel free to pile in." And then got very upset when South Korea said, "No, we're all right, thanks. We don't want you to do this at all. We get like 70% of our oil through the Strait of Hormuz. We'd rather you didn't do this at all, if possible." And he has held that grudge since. I don't know what sparked it in the last few days, but Trump started posting pictures of Kim Jong-un and him when they met, and there was a weird post that he did on Truth Social where he was like, we look really serious and grim in these photos, but there were other photos where we're all smiling and happy, and it's like, why didn't you post those then? But no, it's a very unusual relationship that has gone on for quite some time.
And allies are just having to grit their teeth through all of this, aren't they, Kate? This is the thing. He kind of does this unconventional thing where he says these confrontational policies that presidents have pursued in the past, they were nonsense, they never worked. So instead, I'm doing the diplomatic thing, and everyone's kind of watching on going, yeah, but with North Korea?
Yeah, I know. I was casting my mind back to his last dalliance with North Korea when he was last president, and it was Little Rocket Man, and then Little Rocket Man sort of went into favour and he went to meet him, didn't he? Anyway, obviously he's back in vogue, Little Rocket Man. Look, we can laugh, but it is really bad. The President of the United States, the most important ally to South Korea, basically North Korea had been looking at whether or not, when really, they're going to try and invade South Korea. We all are expecting this in the coming years. And when Donald Trump praises Kim Jong-un, sorry,
right.
old one, Kim Jong-un, as a nice guy, good guy, somebody you could do business with, then it weakens the alliance and it emboldens North Korea, which is, it's hard to think of a worse regime than North Korea.
Yes.
Nuclear armed, tyrannical, highly oppressive, one of the last remaining societies that actually is closed.
Yeah.
So, it's appalling from Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we just have to sit back and watch it.
Yeah, classic. It's Trump's world, we're all just living in it.
Exactly.
Now, it's claimed Tehran is weighing up striking US military targets in southeastern Europe. There are reports that Iran would make the move if President Trump escalates the ongoing war in the Middle East. Dr. Siddharth Kaushal is a senior research fellow at the Royal United Services Institute. Dr. Kaushal, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
What do you make of this threat, and how realistic, how viable is a strike by Iran on targets in Europe?
So, in terms of the technical means, it's viable. The Iranians do have ballistic missiles that could strike targets in southeastern Europe, variants of the Shahab series or the Khorramshahr. But practically, what you can achieve as the Iranians is limited. A, because longer range missiles are missiles they have fewer of. B, in order to cross larger distances with some missiles, they might have to sacrifice payload. And C, because the longer the range at which a ballistic missile is fired, the less its accuracy. So, in a sense, this would almost be completely symbolic, taking the war to another theater, as it were. And they have much more really painful options closer to home in the Persian Gulf if they do want to escalate.
So does this feel like it's kind of all talk, that this is just rhetoric? And is it more aimed at President Trump than actually anybody else?
Yeah, I suspect it is probably talk. I think the Iranians are probably calculating that this is a way to bring more diplomatic pressure to bear on President Trump, from allies who worry about conflict being expanded to their territory. But in practical terms, the ability to hit U.S. military bases in Europe, I'm sure the Iranians in theory could, but these are well-defended facilities, and the odds of a longer-range ballistic missile doing much damage to them, unless they were fired in numbers and in a coordinated way that the Iranians probably can't manage, the odds are actually quite limited in real terms.
Which I suppose is reassuring. What could this do, I suppose, for how Europe is dealing with President Trump? Is this a time for European leaders to be able to intensify their own conversations with the President of the United States in the direction, and to nudge him in the direction of resolving the crisis in the Middle East?
I mean, in a more general sense, I think there's very much an incentive to do that, given, the impact of the energy crisis on Europe, for example. But this specific threat, I don't think moves the needle that much, both because of, the challenges the Iranians would have generating a militarily meaningful effect, as we've discussed, but also because if you think of the European missile defense system, the two Aegis Ashore sites in Romania and Poland, and the rest of the architecture that was built over the last 20 years, it was very much built around precisely this scenario, a limited number of ballistic missiles being launched from Iran. So while we have lots of problems dealing with a much larger Russian arsenal, the one sort of problem we could probably deal with quite handily with what's collectively held in Europe right now is precisely what the Iranians are threatening to do.
It's really interesting. Dr. Siddharth Kaushal, thank you very much. Thank you for speaking to us.